I told you a story already, but I'll tell another story. Why not? Okay, kids, you want a story? Well, even if you don't, I'll tell the story anyway. Here we go.
Want a story?
Yes.
Okay. But you can listen. I told them a story about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a story that's relevant to this week's parsha. You probably know the story already, though. About Nachum Ish Gamzu. You know the story with Nachum Ish Gamzu with the diamonds, the dirt. Okay.
Yes.
You know the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu. That's really relevant to the serpent that we're learning over here. Okay. All right. Once there was a Jew, and this is in the World War II. He was taken into Auschwitz. He didn't really know what was going on. He was just a young man at the time, but he went in, and he brought his tefillin with him. He realized what was happening. You know how they were yelling at people and screaming. So he took the tefillin and he wrapped them around his leg. And he was young, he was strong. So he always managed to, whenever he could, of course, sometimes it would be in the nighttime, whenever he tried to also hide them so that the guards wouldn't find them. And miraculously, he survived. He survived in Auschwitz, almost. Finally, one day, first of all, the story was like this. He lived in Hungary, and Hungary was the last place that the Nazis conquered. So he figured that the war was pretty far away from him, and that would be okay. And they also didn't really know what was going on. You know, the Holocaust, the Jews were being killed. It was all confused. Nobody dreamed that the Germans would do such a thing. Anyway, finally, the Germans took over Hungary. And he still innocently thought that it would be okay, you know, that they just told him, we just need people for work. And so he went and he took his tefillin with him. At the time, he was only like 15 years old. And when he realized what was happening, so that's where he wrapped the tefillin around him. And he always kept the tefillin, and he tried to put it on wherever he could. And other people would go with him. They would put on. Anyway, finally, one day, you know, they were in Auschwitz. I don't know how long they were there for, you know, a year or something, maybe less. And one winter day, they gathered everybody out in the courtyard, and they opened the gates of Auschwitz. And said, you know, what was it? Was what they call a death march. They didn't want the Americans were coming. They were winning the war. They didn't want them to have evidence of what they had been done, what they were doing, of how they were killing people. So they decided if they killed everybody at one time, then there would be too much evidence of all these dead bodies. So anyone that could walk, they told them to walk. And then they figured that people would die on the way. That way the bodies would get strewn on the sides. And so it was the same thing with him. They marched him to some sort of a place. I don't know. They said the name of the place. It was a long march, you know, miles and miles and miles. They marched him like for a week or something. And then they finally marched him to some sort of a camp or a place that was in the middle of the forest. It was all hidden, concealed by the forest. So now, and the first week there wasn't even any food. They just gave everybody, you know, very small portions of like beet soup or something. People were dying. The first week they were there was like, they marched out like 20,000 people. The first week, 5,000 people died. So he saw that it wasn't going to last long. Meanwhile, the guards, they started to get scared because they realized that the Americans were coming. So a lot of guards, they ran away. And there was a lot of confusion. The guards were starting to worry about themselves. So there's a lot of confusion. So one day he was able to walk around a little bit in the camp. And one day he found that one of these SS men had taken off his uniform, threw it away, and it was laying down behind some shacks or something. And the SS man must have, changed clothes and ran away. So he figured this is his chance to get out. So he put on the clothes he put on the clothes, and he, in all the confusion, he just walked. He just walked out. And nobody asked him any questions. He figured if someone would ask him questions, they would kill him, but he figured he wasn't going to live anyway. So he walked out, and sure enough, he made it out. No one asked him any questions, and he got out. As soon as he got far enough away, for the first time, he took out the tefillin, unwrapped them from around his leg, and he put on the tefillin, and he was crying, and he was free. Put them in his pocket. So now he's walking and walking, but he hasn't got any food, and he's all weak and this. And suddenly he sees far away a group of, it's a cold day, so it's freezing outside. He sees Americans that are coming. He's always happy he sees the Americans. Suddenly he realizes, one second, they're going to see me with an SS uniform on, and they're going to kill me. So he says, I got to take this off before they can see me. And he tries to take it off, but his hands are all like cold. They're all frozen. He can't work the buttons. He can't get the buttons out. So the soldiers come and they surround him, the American soldiers, and they're pointing their guns at him, and he figured that's it. So, and he can't even talk. He's just so scared. He just takes his tefillin out and he holds his tefillin up. He figures maybe somebody will, because he can't speak English, doesn't know any English. So he takes his tefillin out and he holds them up. One of the soldiers that's there, they've already cocked the rifles. They're all going to kill him. One of them sees the tefillin. He says, "Du bist a Yid? Zog Shema Yisrael." He says, "Are you Jewish? Say Shema Yisrael." And suddenly the words came out. He doesn't know how. He says, "Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem," and he fainted. So the tefillin that were with him all the time saved his life. And so afterwards, he moved to Israel. And he got a, but what? I guess it must have been because the tefillin wrapped around his leg or whatever reason it was, it cut off the circulation. So eventually, like gangrene set in or whatever he had, and we had problems circulation. And he went to a doctor, one of the best, and they said, "You're going to have to cut the leg off. There's no choice." So he said to the doctor, "Is Israel?" So the doctor is Jewish. So he says to the doctor, "Listen, can I take these tefillin in with me?" So he said, those things are so dirty. How can you even ask a stupid question like that? These things are dirty. They're for the operating room is sterile, totally sterile. Said they're filthy. Look how they are. Why would you want to take a filthy thing like that? Put the tefillin over here. Put them on right now, and then we'll wash you off. And if your God wants to come into the operating room, we won't stop God from coming in. He can come in. Was laughing. The doctor was totally not religious. Totally. You want to put him on. So the guy starts crying. The Jew starts crying. He says, "What are you crying for? What do you want? It's so important you take these dirty boxes in with you." So because these boxes were with me in Auschwitz. And I put them on in Auschwitz. And that's what kept me alive. The doctor's son looks at him and tears start coming in his eyes. He said, "What? You put these tefillin on in Auschwitz? You went through Auschwitz? You put these tefillin on in Auschwitz?" He said, "Yeah." The doctor said, "Listen, I haven't put tefillin on 40 years. I haven't put tefillin on for 40 years. I'll put on now." Show me how to do it. So he puts on the tefillin. Said, "Okay, you know what? We'll figure out a way." They put it inside. They put the tefillin inside of a sterile bag, and they put the bag inside of another sterile bag. They took him into the operating room. They operated. They came out, and the doctor said, "No, they saved you." So who's they? Your staff? What, you didn't do the operation? He said, No. The tefillin saved you. He said, "We saved the leg. We didn't have to remove the leg. It took me a long time, but I worked on it. It was a big miracle." So we see that the tefillin helped him, kept him alive, made the doctor return to his Judaism, and also saved the man's leg. So tefillin are good. Have a good day, everybody. Shalom. See you tomorrow, 8:15 in the morning. Good?